Students, our society is comfortably satisfied with you being average, mediocre, and well-rounded. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? The thing is that our society is comfortable with you working on your weaknesses to keep you locked in where we're most comfortable. And the thing is that we'll have you continue to work on what you're not any good at over and over again so that you can eventually become and move from being bad at something to being, not bad at something. Imagine, though, if you didn't let that happen, that you decided that you weren't going to let anybody else tell you who to be, that you were going to be more of who you already are. And the thing is that we spend so much time working on the things that we're not any good at that we get lost. And, our education system is built around the notion that you need to meet a predetermined set of standards. And if you don't, we're going to do something about it. We're going to fix you. We want you to continue to do better with your grades so that you move from being good at your grades to being better so that eventually you can become perfect. And if you don't meet those standards anywhere along the way, what we're going to do is we're going to remediate you. We're going to identify what your weaknesses are. We're going to classify, categorize, label them, and track them so that we know what to do to fix you. It's what we're good at. We've been doing it for years. We do it in the education system and we do it in business as well. Folks, the thing is this is about ultimately you just being average, mediocre, and well-rounded. And we want you not to get stuck in the standardization trap. Because if you do, eventually you're going to become another zombie of society, walking around with the walking dead, always working at what you're not good at. So instead, you need to decide that you're going to be more of who you already are. A lot of people want to think that you're going to run off to the university systems and find automatic success. The problem with that is, though, it's going to leave you, again, wondering what you could really be. Because, the thing is that we're only graduating about 50% of those who enter our university systems. And they tell us why. Because you're not prepared academically. Or you're not prepared for the social freedoms. Or you lack purpose, identity, and direction. I didn't say that. University systems say that. Here's the thing. Too many people sit around waiting for something good to accidentally happen to them. What if you decided not to wait for something good to accidentally happen to you, and you decided to take charge of yourself right now, that you became a self-generating powerhouse of empowerment? Now, empowerment is about having a positive attitude. It is about moving from where you are to where you want to be, and doing so on purpose. It is about affecting and implementing change. It is about taking charge of yourself right here, right now, today, to be different. Now, I ask my students a very simple question, and they often look at me like I'm flipping nuts when I do because they don't have a good answer for it because nobody's ever asked them the question before. It's who's in charge of blank and fill in your name. So who's in charge of Bob? Right? And Bob looks at me like, what? Huh? I said, Bob, hello, who's in charge of you? And it's absolutely amazing when Bob begins to understand that he is in fact in charge of himself, and a politically correct light bulb comes on over his head, and he's able to say, wait, you mean I'm in charge of me? Yeah, Bob, that's exactly right. You're in charge of you and nobody else. See, the thing, though, is this answer freaks everybody out. It freaks the adults out because I'm actually suggesting that students are in fact in charge of themselves. And it freaks the students out because I'm actually suggesting that you guys are in fact in charge of yourself. Go figure, right? Everybody gets freaked out over the same answer. And so does Bob. Bob's like, wait, you mean I'm in charge of myself? Yeah, Bob. So if you're in charge of yourself, you need to make sure that the decisions you make are good ones, and because they're going to affect your future. And then the light bulb gets brighter because Bob goes, wait, that means the decisions that I make affect my future. Right, Bob? So you need to make good ones. And Bob, you can't blame everybody for your situation because you're responsible. And Bob goes, dang. Seriously. And So now what I want you to do is I want you to take a little test with me. I know this is going to cause some of you some freak out a little bit. So what I want you to do is I want you to raise your right hand in the air as high as you can. There you go, as high as you can. No, your other left. There you go. Right, there you go, your right hand. Outstanding. Now raise it higher. Why is it that virtually everybody in the room was able to raise their hand higher? You can put them down now. Because we're comfortably satisfied with being average, mediocre, and well-rounded. To do otherwise is to put yourself out there to be talked about, ridiculed. And heaven forbid you were to go out there and really put yourself out there and fail at something and not get the trophy. And we're all used to getting the trophy, right? So how does all this work? Well, it works first and foremost by understanding this. It starts with your education. So get one, however you do that. Understand that it is about empowerment, about movement, about having a positive attitude, about taking control of yourself. And remember, who's in charge of you? Say, I am.
I am.
Outstanding. Now, we can also find evidence of this in the field of psychology and its science. A guy by the name of Dr. Martin Seligman said that we need to pay attention to, instead of just what's broken about people, what's right about people. That psychology might be a two-sided coin of strengths and weaknesses. And he says that we need to focus in on people's character, their potential, and their natural strengths. He starts a movement called positive psychology. Now, he's not the first to suggest this. He is the first to give it mass appeal, though. And Dr. Seligman begins to say that we need to identify what people's talents are, what they're really good at. And everybody here in this room is talented, everybody. The problem is so many of you don't really believe that because you have such a narrow view of what it actually means to be talented. Do you realize that being highly organized is a talent? That being creative, being able to think outside the box is a talent. Making friends and making peace with your friends is a talent. So there is a love of learning and reading. Leadership, flexibility, compassion, the competitive spirit, being able to tell a great story are all talents. No matter what your culture, your race, or how much money you have or don't have, its talents are the great equalizer. Everybody's talented. So because of that, when you begin to identify and invest in your strengths, you become more engaged. And when you become more engaged, you're going to have an opportunity to have your grades increase. Your stress level is going to go down. Your happiness is going to go up. And education professionals love this one. Graduation rates increase for students who can identify what they're naturally good at and what their talents are. And we want to do anything that's going to increase graduation rates. Neuroscience and positive psychology has proven that engaged, happy people are successful people, not the other way around. And mind you, that's counterintuitive to what we're used to. I'm a dyslexic. For those of you who don't know, that means that I had trouble learning to read and write when I was a kid. It was a weakness. And some of your weaknesses, folks, you have to work really hard at. And I worked really hard at learning to read and write. And I did. And what it taught me is that I had strengths and talents, and I was going to be self-empowered. And I became that, and I became successful. And when I was in college, I was taking a leader psychology course, and this course was designed to be absolutely killer, and it was. The culmination of the course was to produce a paper on the science of leadership. And I did so. And when I turned it in, and the professor met with me to tell me how I did, he said, Fred, you've written the best overall paper of anybody. Your analysis is spot on. You've shown a commanding knowledge of the subject. Your content is outstanding. And I'm thinking, sweet, getting an A. He hands me a paper with a D on it. I was like, seriously, dude, were you not just in the room? And he says, Fred, you've got 5 round sentences, 4 comma splices, and 3 misspelled words. I'm thinking, it's a 50-page paper. Is that all you got? Well, I learned something from this. I was never going to let anybody value me based on one weakness. And I learned it's a good thing that there are editors, because that's exactly what I did. I gave it to somebody else. They found my mistakes. I turned it in and got an A. So young people, understand that you get to make the decisions to be a self-generating powerhouse of empowerment. Take control of your attitude, your education. Identify your strengths and your talents. Get that education and be fully present in all you do. Greatness, there is plenty of room at the top for it, so power up.